I realise now I am talking a lot today and you're listening very attentively. I hope this is all useful to you. But I want to finish by looking at these two areas, the quality assurance part of what an institution does. And we know, it starts from how they frame a program, how they get that accredited before it's launched. But at EFMD, we looked more at those that have, well, always looked at those that have been running for some time. So we sort of took it for granted that they'd been accredited or approved at state level as a desktop exercise. But then now they've been running, we were able to say, well, how are you monitoring the teaching? How are you monitoring the learning? And this is somewhere that online gives a huge advantage, especially to reviewers, to accreditors. It gives an advantage because we can see what the students have seen without being physically in the classrooms to do that, or seeing just an example. Whether I'll raise any smiles by suggesting that when the accreditors are coming in, you'll put your best lecturers out and the most entertaining ones, and they will be the ones that people see. I couldn't possibly comment on who did that. So the teaching staff, who are they? What qualifications do they have? What skills do they have? What, if there's non-core faculty, guest speakers, or remote speakers, like in the case of OBS, well, how do you evaluate them? Do you watch their teaching? Do you monitor them at all and see what they're getting up to in the classroom? Is it aligned? How often do you do that? Do you feed back to them? And it was a South American case, we found that they decided they would teach in English, even though they spoke Spanish as a natural language. They wanted to have more of the market from, say, the southern states of America. So they taught in English, but they didn't always get the English right. And they, some of their teaching materials that we were looking at were below standard. And we said, well, what mechanism is there? Do lecturers just put the materials up on the system? Yeah, that's what they do. Well, can we suggest that you have someone look at that and scrutinize them and make sure they are accessible for those people with different needs, so they're clear, and that they if you're teaching in English, that they're in good English, and if you're teaching in Spanish, that they're in good Spanish. So and make sure, and then the content, that it's up to date and relevant. The worst thing you can find, and you find it in face-to-face as well, is those professors who've been teaching the same stuff for 20 years and they won't change and they don't update. So you need these things to be updated to be relevant. Here's a picture. I don't know if anyone's seen this picture before from another Spanish university, IE University, and this is a picture from their Madrid campus. It's like a wonder wall, but it is how they not only monitor their student learning in synchronous sessions, but how they monitor their teachers as well. The lecturers, it's more like a TV studio than a lecture room, but they've got all these online students. And if you have a look at the, let's say I will try and illustrate this here. You have a look at that. What we understood when we went to CIE University was that this was biometric information on each of the screens, the student screens. So they could tell who was closing their eyes, who was nodding off, who was writing, who was attentive. And that would be something that was available to the lecturer in real time. They found that to be far too much information for the lecturer at the time. So they used it afterwards to see which parts of the lecture or the session gained most attention, and they did more of that, and which didn't, and they did less of that. So they were able to monitor how the teacher behaved. Very, very high tech, huge investment. I've seen a similar installation at Oxford University in the UK, smaller than that, but similar idea in their executive education space. But again, the monitoring is possible. I'm not for a moment suggesting that Georgia invest in this sort of thing, because it really just fits the need that that university had. The monitoring of learning, the second one, this is important because in a face-to-face setting, we've got very little information to go on. Attendance, as if that tells you anything about people's learning. Yes, you might think they have to attend to learn, or do they? Especially when lectures are recorded now in a lot of places, and they can be looked at later. But in online, we are, depending on the level of investment, have a lot more information to go on. It surprises me, shocks me even, that most of the online providers we looked at still used a simple student satisfaction survey at the end of the course as some sort of proxy, some sort of measurement of learning. It measured no such thing. It measured satisfaction. It measured whether the lecturer told enough jokes. It measured whether the lecturer told them, without telling them much, what was on the exam. Did they like the lecturer? So it was a popularity contest. These things are fraught with problems. So how can we online monitor learning better? We can certainly monitor engagement. We can look at the learning journey like my friend David did at Imperial with the different types of learners, and make sure we're catering for them. So we can use real-time analytics, and we can ask, as accreditors, how are you using that? You've got all this data. You've perhaps got AI to sift the data for you. How are you using it? Is that fed back to the tutors for them to act on? There is also post-event feedback. And I say post-event rather than post-program or post-course, because each one of those events, the synchronous sessions, the discussions, the assessment feedback, they can each be judged. Are they doing that? Are they getting the thumbs up or the 5 stars or the ratings that online we're so used to being asked to provide? And importantly for accreditors, what are you doing about it? You've got these data, you've got this information. What are you doing about the actions? What actions are you taking to improve things or to respond to things that you're seeing?